Go, Dan.
Just in time. Welcome, everybody. It is Monday night, and my computer issues hopefully are fixed now, so we'll see. But it was a lovely little, go restart. Hopefully you guys are having a much better night than I am. We are here to have some fun with all of you, so we're also going to give you some sort of like tips or something like that. I don't know.
Ish posh.
None of these tips.
We're going to argue about something. We know that's for sure.
I disagree.
Whatever it is, I disagree.
Now, there's too long of a story to tell behind that saying. I'll tell you guys later. John is old enough to understand because when I tell him the show, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I used to watch that show." Anyways,
no, I'm not that old. Sorry.
I almost sent you something the other night because there was a guy, and this is gonna tell you how old John is and Dan. So I want everybody to look at John and Dan's face when I say this person, and whichever one understands it. We'll go there. Saw a guy when I was DJing at the casino Saturday that I swore was what was his? I just blanked on his name. Foster Brooks.
Oh yeah, Foster Brooks, who was part of the Dean Martin. He was one of the.
Dan, see, I knew John was the only person that would get that.
That was part of that, and he played the so intoxicated person that
The lovable lush.
Yes, he was.
This dude looked just like him with beard and everything.
Yeah, that was...
Sorry, that was a tangent. Dan, what the heck are we talking about tonight?
I don't know. John came up with the topic.
Yep, so tonight's topic I want to talk about, because with everyone heading into Vegas last week and people who were just starting out there and they were going to the show, and I'm thinking to myself, this would be a good time to discuss if you are just looking to get started as a DJ. What's the most important first steps to do to start being a DJ or to get yourself going as a DJ? And I think we're going to come up with probably a short list of different things, but I wanted to kind of, by the time we're done, have this in a somewhat hierarchy of this is the most important part, this is like the next step, and this is the next step to your road to becoming a mobile DJ or a DJ, performing DJ.
My first answer is going to be a disclaimer. Should we start with that?
Can I answer? Can I take MJ's thunder? Can I answer the first one right now for MJ?
Really? You know?
Run! Don't do it. Just get out of it now.
No. I'm actually giving people who've made this decision. My first thought was to be successful as a DJ business, you have to have DJ talent. But then I thought, that's like the last thing you need, apparently, from what all I've seen. So my disclaimer is backwards from the way I think it should be tonight. So all the advice I'm giving you is opposite of the way I think it should be. So we shall begin then.
My goodness.
It's opposite. Oh, that's going to be great.
The things that I count least important for my own career should be number one in yours. Oh. Absolutely.
So let's start out that. Let's kind of put that person in. We've got our little person here who's wanting to become a DJ. They have seen DJs perform and they're like, hey, I want to be that person and I want to make this as close to a full-time income as possible. They've seen, they've either been to parties and seen the DJ, or maybe they've been to some clubs and they've seen DJs performing, and they're wanting to basically make this a career.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the difference between a DJ and a large pizza?
I think the answer is that a pizza will feed a family of 4.
That's right. A large pizza will easily feed a family of 4.
Yeah.
They won't.
And that's the unfortunate reality of the situation. That's a lot of...
93% of all people who identify as a DJ do not do it full time. So that's something to look at there. I'm not saying you can't, because I obviously am that person, and I know people who are, both with families and single like me. So it's any level of whatever can be done. So don't let that deter you. I think that's important to say. If you really want this, it's achievable.
And I think one of the... Oh, go ahead, Dan.
I was going to, kind of to throw into that disclaimer there, yes, I'll agree that 93% of them can't, or, don't identify.
Not can't, aren't.
Right. That's right. Yeah, I slipped when I said can't. Yeah. So 93% of them don't identify, but there's also a large number of those, I think, of the survey that you were talking about, that identify themselves as, what we would classify bedroom DJs, who, they do this more to hobbyist and that kind of direction, and also, maybe have not chosen to try and make it full time.
I think even to go back a little, nothing about full time in this situation, just those who are really wanting to go and make money doing it. I think there's a percentage of people out there who love the idea of playing with the toys, and they love music, but they have absolutely no desire to go and play out and make money or to charge for what they do. And I think, MJ, when you had gone through that list 2 years ago, or last year, whenever you and I did that, one of the last times, I think that was a telling sign, is that a lot of people just like to play with the gear and be the best bedroom DJ they possibly could be. And if no one ever hears them, they're okay with that.
Yeah, I can honestly tell you, someone in the chat just said about that they know some amazing DJs that can't make a full-time go at it because of the business aspect. I know some guys that have literally won competitions in DJing, but they only want to play around here or there. Like John said, it's not about a full-time living for them. That would ruin it for them if they had to do that. And
I think another area that would ruin it for some out there is that they, and MJ, you've made reference to this, is that you love a certain type of music as far as you were really into that, and that wasn't the type of music that would put food on the table.
Right.
You couldn't afford that, so you had to transition. And I think there's some out there who consider themselves purists, and I'm not going to cave and go to mainstream, so they're going to continue to do whatever that little genre that they like, or a segment of a genre that they like. So you get some people out there that just this is what they enjoy, and it's not going to pay them money, because no one's going to pay someone who plays just strictly this narrow of a genre of music.
Yeah, no one will pay you to play only Huey Lewis.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That's the big money events.
I thought you were going to be. I thought you were at least going to be vague about it. The San Francisco Bay Area, band that only.
Oh, I didn't know that's where
people
they're
in
from.
Minnesota
Wow.
like.
That's how little I care.
So everyone who watched last week when Dan wasn't here, nothing was mentioned about that band. Nothing was mentioned, and now look we've already mentioned it twice. 2/3 of the people on this show have talked about it. I'm just saying.
I did not mention the band. I was talking about Joey's no, not Joey. Oh man, now I went
Hey,
Full
City
House.
Rollers. There's
Was
an
that-
old reference for you.
No, I was going to go from Jesse and the Heartthrobs or whatever from Full House, because that was the only thing I could think of
Don't
from
get
San
me
Francisco.
started. Anyways, let's divert from that, because we are so tangenting tonight.
So let's kind of look at this. Since Carlos mentions the idea of the business aspect of it, is the idea, once I've got that passion, is the most important part of it to learn the business side of the industry, or learn the business side of running a small business? Is that the most critical first step, that you have to have a grasp of that before you can go any farther? Or let me say, before you can be long-term successful at this?
I would say, in short, it at least has to be half of what you do. The mentality behind it, and that means in every aspect, from pre-events, during events, after events, and as we're coming into tax season, all of that kind of stuff. It has to be there, or you can wash yourself out of the game pretty quickly.
Do you think, MJ, that a DJ, when you're getting into the business side of it, do you think that being a salesperson, knowing how to be a salesperson, is an important skill? Or, as you were mentioning, a bookkeeper, someone who can basically hang on to numbers and do that? Or...
Yes, you have to be able to BS and lie and post things online like I spun at such and such a club when they never spun at such and such a club. Been doing this for 30 years, when it's like, listen, I gave you a break 10 years ago.
And you're only 25.
I can name DJs that bought their Instagram followers. I'm one of the few that I swear to you that I know that anybody who follows me on Instagram, they're not following me because I follow them. So I think it's a balance to be successful long term. I think at least with the club scene, a lot of the guys who get into that don't care about business because they're not claiming their cash. They have a day job, and very few of them claim anything at all. So there's a level that can be skated around on that. But still, if you want to do it full-time long-term, you're going to have to show an income and pay taxes on that income somehow. Right. You know, there has to be write-offs. There has to be depreciation of equipment, all these things that you don't want to think about as a DJ because you just want to go kill it, hashtag killing it. That there's a lot in there that's just not fun. I'm sorry. It's just not. At least for me, it's not. But I think there has to be a balance to make it long term. Mm-hmm. On some level, whatever percentage you want to call it. Dan, what do you think percentage wise?
I don't know. I don't know percentage wise. I would definitely say that it's something that you need to get a decent handle on early on in this situation. I will say that I don't think it was one of the things that I started out. I know I didn't start out the right way. I think I had a great mind for numbers because of the math side.
Sure.
But from a business side, no. I just knew because and also somewhat because of where I was at, that I couldn't spend money that I didn't have. And so that was, that was an upbringing that I had. So you can call that business sense or you can call it something else. But it was one of those things where I knew I was not going to spend money I didn't have. So as a result, I lacked all that other area, but I never let it take me under. I made sure the business paid for anything that I bought. Now, I was also not able to sustain a living off of it. And so what it was bringing me was very little until I started to have a better understanding of, oh, you mean I should definitely pay myself, before I decide to buy the next gear that's $10,000, like having that better working network with that. And of course, when we talk about business, there's, could be a list a mile long of just all the pieces there that you need to have, as MJ was talking about. Yeah, I know some of it was tongue in cheek because we know of DJs who do that, and it is buying those Instagram followers and all those other things, and obviously it works. Not saying we condone it, but saying it does work. But kind of on that other side is the networking. I mean, we've talked multiple times about making those connections with DJs that are in the area, making, if we're talking about the mobile side, making connections with the DJs, making connections with corporate groups to because if you do decide you're going to do this full time and you do decide you want to run with it, weekday money is where you're going to find a lot of your extra income that's going to pad the pocket that you would not have thought about otherwise. It's right. Not always about the clubs. It's not always about the weddings. It's oftentimes about the corporate or daytime money, and networking is where you're really going to start to ease your way into that world a lot quicker.
So Dan, when you mentioned when you first started, of course, you got to that epiphany moment where you started to figure out that, hey, I need to pay myself to be able to buy the next round of gear, whatever. However you said that. During those early years, how much of your business do you think you were basically having to fund other people's parties because you were pulling money from your other job to fund, at that time, would have been a DJ hobby to a point?
I don't think I was ever to that standpoint. The downside was I was not a very good bookkeeper, so I was not in that frame of mind. But I also know I was very stringent on what I was willing to spend, what I was willing to go out and buy, what I was willing to do. Now, obviously, when I got started, that was the other side. When you got started, you have to pull the money from somewhere.
Right. Yep.
So that was the early on. But I was fortunate enough that I got started when I was in college. So I actually worked one summer at a local, I think it was a Perkins, and all the money that I pulled, that's what I used to buy my first system.
Sure.
And then for the longest time, it really was just kind of there. It was something I got to play with. It was something I got to use. But it wasn't until I started doing events in kind of a more consistent standpoint that I go, oh, well, now I need to replace this. Now I need to replace that. And, early on in the career, music was, at the time that I was doing it, it was very easy to come by with Napster. So, back in that day, yes, the time for them to come after me, that I think is past, and those music files are long gone. But at the time, I wasn't really having to spend money for things like that. So it was definitely a different animal, for what I was doing. I wasn't pulling money from personal to buy new stuff.
Can I tap on this subject a second before we move on to something else? I want all of us to mention some things that most people don't think about that you have to consider part of the business side, because I think there's so much of this. I would almost say that it's 75% business, 25, probably 20% DJing, 5% having fun. Because I just think there's so much that's consumed that people don't think about before and after. Like one of the things came to my mind is how much time, money, and effort do you spend on just contracts? Now, nowadays it can be digital, but it used to be paper, mailing, receiving, chasing after. Because to me, chasing after someone to sign a contract is not DJing. So that's time you're not spending DJing. So let's name some things like that people don't really think of that are part of the business side of things. That's why I think it's so important, because there's so much to it. Scheduling events, returning phone calls, emails. What else jumps in your mind?
I think one of the big ones that we used to do, and maybe because I've been here so long I don't do it anymore as much, or maybe it's not a thing anymore, is that researching of the the researching of the competition in your area. When the old phone books would come out, we'd open up to the Yellow Pages and go through and check out, and then go to when websites, it's like, from the Yellow Pages to the website, we could go and check out the competition, and in some cases get an idea of where they were, rates, and what they were offering. I think that whole idea of researching your market, I don't know if that's as much of a thing with a lot of younger DJs, because
you online stock people now.
There's some of that, no question about it.
Yeah, it's not the paper. It's same mindset. Yeah.
But I don't even know if it is truly on that. They might find, but I think from what I'm talking to, people who are getting started, they've seen somebody, or they've seen a couple of DJs, and they're like, okay, I can do better than that. And then they go off and they jump right into it, and they're into it so quickly because they've gotten a couple of VFW type gigs. And the next thing you know, they're working and doing these $50 every Friday and Saturday night shows so intently that they don't have time to research and do that type of stuff. So I don't know if the younger under 25 do that, or if that's just not a thing anymore. But that research was something that used to be really big with us, to be able to do that. And I know some companies that used to hire some gals from college to go and call and pretend they were having a wedding, and they would go and call everybody in the market. That happened quite a few times in the early days of Map DJ.
I don't think it's as much of a thing, and I think a lot of that, not the research part. I think the spending time in the cold calls and faking who you are, or paying someone to pretend to be somebody else, because without too much problem, there's the quickest way that you can find it is to jump into any DJ Facebook group that there is, and just say, hey, I'm charging this. What should I be charging? And you'll get 80,000 responses, and they'll all be wrong because they're not your business. But it's this idea that DJs will jump to that, or people will jump into that idea of just throwing this out there. So they don't have to research the guy that's up the street. They don't have to find out what that area is charging, because they'll just ask everybody. Or if they do spend some time, you mentioned the websites, it's very easy for us to just go on and search around, and might not find the guy up the street's numbers, but I can find the one that's 5 miles away.
Sure.
Because somebody decides that they're going to put their prices online, and if you have enough people, you at least get that quick sense. So I don't think the ones that are initially starting out do it, because like I said, I don't think they're putting enough thought into it. But I'd say the ones that have the long-term goal definitely do, and the ones that have been in it for, I would say, probably after about a year, of doing those Friday and Saturday, they go, there's got to be more to this.
Yeah.
I've seen so and so. There's got to be more. Like how are they having the funds to do this? So there's got to be more to something, and that's where then they start asking, either directly or again throwing it into a Facebook group.
All right, so that's not DJing. That's part of the research. Some other things, because like I said, I think this is so important that we talk about these things that have nothing to do with going out and DJing that you have to follow up on. Business cards, stickers, taking time to make flyers, to make edits, to download music, to keep your equipment up to date, repairs, backup stuff, a whole backup system, just things that are all part of the DJ stuff, like DJ Event Planner, the cost of it, the time on it, all these things. Like, what else jumps out there that in the business that you guys do? Because I'm telling you, I think there's so much of the business side that's necessary to make it long term. I really do. It almost killed me from doing it full time.
Well, I would say, and this is where I want to like bite my tongue a little bit on this, because I think it's very easy for us to look at that, and we could look at the grand scale, and exactly like you're saying, MJ. I mean, we could make this a month load of topics to cross all those lists. I
just want to mention them so that they're in people's mind.
Right. I'm fearful that also this people that are starting out will hear this and go, "Oh my gosh, I have to have all this before I start," and I don't think that's necessarily the case. However, as you said, you mentioned it. I think it's something they do have to keep.
You need to know it's there, because when it comes and hits you head on, it will knock you off your feet. I'm telling you, there are things that you never thought that were that have to be a part of your everyday, that have nothing to do with having fun DJing.
I think
nothing.
One of those areas would be getting your business set up, getting your assumed name set up.
Oh, that's tax ID. Yeah. Go ahead.
Because you've got to. You have to apply for a tax ID number. Even if you don't have employees, you're still going to need an EIN number at some point in time, most likely. If you're going to do an assumed name, you need to have that. If you're going to set up a corporation of some sort, an LLC, you need to do that with your the states in which you live. And then if there's any local licenses, you need to do that. And then you have to look at protecting yourself and your assets, which means getting insurance and things. So just some of the boring kind of things. Bank
account, and debit card to track your business expenses, so you're not saving every single receipt. That was one of the big things for me, is that everything that has to do with business is done on the debit card, so that at the end of the year I can just look at the debit card and what I spent. I don't have to save anything. But I just think there's a lot. Mileage is another thing that kicks my butt every year, trying to track my mileage.
Oh, for sure.
These are all things that people don't think about. You think, I'm just going to go DJ, and then you hit a year into it and you're like, what? Mm-hmm. What?
I would also say there's a lot of features out there and a lot of programs out there that will help you to be able to track, whether it's expenses, whether it is the contract thing that you mentioned. I mean, one of the things that you're right, I used to spend a ton of time on contracts, and when I got started, it was, we were using snail mailed ideas. So it was like you're sending them out, and then you're crossing your fingers that that they didn't change their mind, that it didn't get lost in the mail, something like that. And then I go, okay, now I was going to PDF. So now I was able to send them out as attachments. And so that shortened up some of the time. I knew it was getting to them because they could instantly confirm, hey, I got it. And then but yet they were still having to sign it and send it back. So now it's like, okay, now again, I'm waiting on them. I know they got it, but how long until they send it? How long until I get it back? But now you've got things like DJ Event Planner, as well as the other ones that are out there. And they're focusing on this idea. I mean, you've got e-signatures and everything else. I have a contract, so when a couple contacts me, they put their information in of what they're looking for in our back and forth email. So there is time that you're spending in contact, whether it's email, text messaging, phone calls, whatever. Most likely it's going to be digital communication of some sort, though. And that back and forth, I fill out, they give me that more information. Anytime I get more information, I drop it into my LMS, or sorry, teaching thing there for a second, my CMS. So help, drop it into that. And then all I have to do is say, hey, I want a contract. I click send contract, and I'm done. Mm-hmm. And everything else from there is done. I don't have to hassle. I don't have to go after it. I've got, there's email programs and drip programs set up. So basically, if they don't respond within 3 days, they get an email. Hey, what's going on? They haven't responded in a week. Hey, your time is almost up. By the end of 2 weeks, your contract's done. Sorry. We're going to be moving on if you don't contact us. So there's a lot of those things, but those things take time. They take one of two things. They either take time to set up, or they take money for somebody else to set it up.
Yep.
And here's the great thing that I will say is, if you're starting out, this isn't necessarily something we've talked about, but look for those people that are going to save you time. I cannot express how many hours and hours and hours I spend on a website trying to create it, trying to make it look good.
Yeah.
And I'm not a website person. And after it was all said and done, it didn't look like it should have, because I'm not a website person. Until I finally realized that if I paid somebody to do it, it was going to be better in the end. And even if it's just the stress level is gone. Now, if you're a website person, that's fine.
I heard Anthony Robbins talking about it this way. He goes, you're only given so much time in life, but you can buy time. And people are like, what do you mean you can buy time? The time like you said, time spending on the website. I can pay someone to do the website. You might go like me, where I'm right before the show, I was talking about how much time I've been spending redoing the websites. For me, that's kind of fun. So I have to admit, I do enjoy a lot of that. But I could look at that and go, I could pay someone else to do that, and I would have all this time to work on other ways to make money and do stuff. I could spend this time just being creative. So that is something that you do have to evaluate in your business, is how much are you going to outsource to buy yourself time to do, whether it be more business or stuff you love.
Right.
Family, whatever. Yeah. Buy time. Pay someone to mow your lawn. Stuff like that. Buy time.
I think that really gets down to, and this could be again another show, is the whole concept of figuring out which processes give you the greatest financial return for what you're doing. If it's something that you're doing that's busy work, and your value of doing that isn't that great, it might be something to farm out, as MJ is doing or is suggesting, and hiring someone to do it. Or if it's something that is like you're good at sales, and when you are the one out doing sales, you can say that I make a lot of money per hour by doing sales, then that's obviously something that you wouldn't farm out type of a situation. And I think that concept, when you really sit down and figure out that, okay, my day of going through and doing this is, there's very little money that I can make. It has to be done, but I don't make any money really off that. But I can make a lot of money doing these tasks over here. Well, I'm going to focus on this and try to farm these types of tasks out, and it can be very successful for people.
Yeah. What else is on your list, John?
Well, let's kind of put the business stuff aside. I think that's very important, and I think one of the things that we will probably all agree on is that when you first start, that's not the exciting part. This is the part it's going to slap you up alongside the head at some point.
Does it ever become the fun part? If anybody out there considers it fun, let me know.
It does.
When that paycheck keeps coming in.
Yeah.
You got to put the money into that account, or you snapshot it and it goes into the account, and you see that, and you see the numbers go up. That's exciting.
Yeah. That very first time you do, and you're like, wow, I've made, I'm now into 6 digits that I've made with my company. That's pretty exciting stuff. It's just that process of the money and where that goes when it comes to the business side of it.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about performance, and I want to look at 2 areas. One is the actual performing with music, and then the second area is knowledge of music. And I want to have those as 2 different things, because I think in the knowledge of music, meaning a more of a general knowledge for understanding what's going to, what different groups will like. I can look at a room and say, okay, I think that these people are going to, here's some things I could try based on looking at this room. Compared to performance with music, where you're taking the kind of music that fits into what you like and playing it back, whether it's things that you can mix with whatever. Being good with this, or being good with your knowledge of music, which one would be more important, do you think?
I'm not. Explain that again.
So your knowledge of music. So I look at someone who, let's go back to the performance side of it. The performance of music. They like a certain genre of music. They're really good at mixing that certain genre of music, or that type of music.
There's a performer that, to me, when you say performer, that means nothing more than your skills and abilities to keep the crowd involved. And then the music is knowledge of what the tools you're using.
I think that, yeah.
Is that what you mean?
The knowledge, the music, I know a lot of different, I know what the genres, I know, that 40-year-olds are going to like, most likely, these would be some songs I would try with a 40-year-old crowd. These would be the 30-year-old
Right.
women would like. I have that knowledge of music and how it would work with a crowd because of whatever experience.
Right.
Compared to, I know how to beat mix, and I'm really good at beat mixing because I really like to do drum and bass beat mixing, and that's what I'm really good at.
Well, see, that's where I think the things are a little off, because when you're talking about, when you go to a specific style, I do not see talent as a specific style. Talent is talent is talent is talent. Having a favorite kind of music and DJing something else is still, what are you doing with your talent? But you also can have the knowledge of what works.
But
So I don't think you can put talent in a specific genre unless that's what you're talking about. It's knowledge
No,
of a specific genre.
I think what John's getting at, if I'm understanding correctly, because I kind of with you as MJ, I kind of went what for a second. I think the question is then which is more important. This is what's been kind of one of those age-old questions that we see. Is it better to be better at music programming? That would be your knowledge side, or to be a better mixer, in other words, performance side. Which do you think becomes more important? Am I right, John?
Yeah, that's really it.
Okay.
I mean, you made it much simpler. I mean, I could spend another 15 minutes trying to explain it. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I know everybody's going to say one thing. They're all going to say it's better to be a music programmer. But to me, I've seen guys who are music programmers, great choices. They can't keep the crowd engaged. They'll keep them engaged while the song is playing. And then when they change songs, it dies down. People leave the floor. They have to build back up again, where someone who's kind of okay can take that crowd and drive it, 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 never let it go with their skills and abilities. So to me, I think it's even. I would not want to be all one or the other. Never, because I think you'll fail both ways.
I think it kind of depends upon where you're planning to play. And there's also when it comes to the startup, right? So for example, I believe that the knowledge side, the music program side, when you are starting out, that is more important than your skills. And now keep in mind, difference in where we're playing. MJ's talking about bar, club.
I'm talking about anything, because you can walk into a wedding and have all the great songs and cut them short, not know where to put them at, stuff like that. You'll just fail.
Well, but I think the where to put them at kind of falls into that knowledge of recognizing and knowing your music, of what's going to work and what's going to work in succession. And the where that comes from is through observation. Finding a way to make sure that you are apprenticing or going along with a buddy, and there goes that networking again, to be pulled along to say, hey, I want to learn. I want to learn some of this piece and be able to understand, especially.
What about the whole generation now that goes out and buys playlists and just goes off the playlist and nothing else, and have successful careers at weddings? They have no knowledge.
Okay.
So they're down to what they have and their ability to play. And that's a large portion of the DJ audience out there.
Yeah.
But in the same respect, there was still knowledge that was there that created that in the first place.
I don't consider that knowledge.
Well,
I consider it a playlist. It's a playlist.
I agree. But it was a playlist that was created in a certain way. Now, again, starting out, I believe that the knowledge is going to be the place to go, because from a mobile standpoint, when you're starting out, typically, you're not taking events where people are expecting you to suddenly become this master mixer that they've had experience with.
See, again, it's people talk about the mixing level. To me, it's just I've seen wedding DJs, I've seen club DJs, I've seen birthday DJs, background DJs all mix. Okay? And I don't consider them talented. So when you're talking about talent versus mixing, beat matching isn't talent. That's everyday, that's elementary DJing. So just beat matching is not talent.
I don't think I said talent. If I did, I'm wrong. I meant skill.
Because if you're saying have the ability to beat match, or choose picking the best songs, pick the best songs, because just beat matching doesn't really matter, because anybody with a finger that can press the sync button can do that. John's favorite program called Megaseg can do that. You can pay for that ability there.
So I want it to be known that last week Dan wasn't on the show. There wasn't anything mentioned about a band from San Francisco or about the most incredible Mac software there ever was.
And I will have you know that it was MJ who brought up both of them.
I'm just saying.
Dan, you made me do it.
I know. But you know,
we could beat this horse all day because
we could.
But I think that Dan made a, we're talking about, or you guys have been talking back and forth about that knowledge and that specifically buying of those playlists. I think this is a different time where we got lucky for a period of time where we could go and buy the Mobile Beat Top 200. And we had that. And all of a sudden our music knowledge was more uniform across the industry because we all knew that these were supposed to be some of the best songs out there. But I think that there's enough playlists out there right now. And I mean, even with Michael, he's gone and he's done some events where he's taken some of my folders and they were like, can you play some older country? And he really didn't know what he was doing. And he picked out some of the songs that I had highlighted in that country folder, and they came up and they thought he was a great country DJ. Part of it was that he found songs that he could mix in, and basically did a nice job of making it a good mix. And part of it was it being the right song, but it wasn't his knowledge of it being the right song. It was more of a luck of the choice, and then what he could do with that song in relation to the others.
We talked about outsourcing different parts of our business. That's
Absolutely,
outsourcing the knowledge.
Very much
Absolutely.
so.
Yeah.
To get started,
Absolutely.
I think that really is something. Is that the understanding of how songs work? A basic music theory. I think is kind of important. But I would almost contend that because of there being so many lists out there, that you could just focus on utilizing your gear. How can I make this controller do some of the things that I want it to do? And then I can learn more about music later. I mean, I can find out about 70s songs, in 2 months from now. I don't need to know.
I could have a successful night of DJing at any place you put me by grabbing some playlists that people paying for them. It could be through what's the one, Crate, Hackers.
Yep.
Okay. Paying for that. Virtual also offers Genius DJ, which you can drag a song in there and it will tell you what other people have played next after it. And you can keep that subgenre. I can take that ability and put it with Virtual's Auto Mix or Megaseg's Auto Mix and do a whole night like that and be successful. Because I honestly believe, and DJs will fight me till the end of the world on this, and I'm not talking about MCs, the ability to talk to a crowd. I'm talking about just this skill ability, that my skill and abilities are not going to be as important in the future as they are now, because the machines will be doing it for the people, and the people hiring them will be as happy with them as they would with me. And again, I'm not talking about picking up a mic and talking on the mic.
Sure.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So
wow, we agreed on something.
And that's kind of
I agree that you have a nice balance behind you, Dan. We've been talking about Dan's balance behind him, and I love it.
Really? Because it's off. Like from where I'm sitting.
It's slightly off compared to where you had it before.
Because I'm sitting. And
he's not liking it. It's off. He's not liking it.
It's all right. It's better, though. So good job.
We're getting there.
Yeah. So, John, that's a tough one. Again, if we're talking about a 20-something wanting to start a business, I would tell them first to get your music together. Have good playlists, whether you get them from somebody else or not, to where that stuff you can fall back on. Because push comes to shove. If you have stuff to fall back on like that, that's going to save you a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think part of the thing that just irks me, and this is what's been there for years, and it every once in a while it pops up where, it's a new genre, it's a new type of event, it's a new whatever, and oh, by the way, it's coming up in 2 days, and I need all the songs that you can give me.
Yeah.
To me, I don't care whether you're paying for a playlist or not. Like, to me, you're doing a disservice to who you are, to your business, to to the others that take this seriously and you know, have fun with it, but take it seriously. Because if you're just, you know, not putting any care into it, the fact that it's coming up that close, and oh yeah, it's a song, it's something you've never done before, and oh yeah, you want everybody else to do your research for you. Like, come on. Sorry, get off my lawn.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's gonna be there. It's gonna be there in the future, and that's all there is.
Oh, I know, it's not gonna go.
Yeah. That's why I say all this work. The other part of it is the ease and ability to get songs. Another friend of mine talked about how much effort he has put in his lifetime to gathering his music library, and now someone can go out and just buy a hard drive from somebody. You know, he said that ticks him off.
I don't even know how many people.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I still remember. Now this was a couple years ago. I had a friend of mine who when he got married, they couldn't afford me, so they hired somebody who played their music off of iTunes to the point that it would stop like in between every track, and so just kind of that craziness, and so just kind of that mentality of going there. And yet there are people who I'm sure DJ off of Spotify just that same way.
Yeah.
And so it's that same ease of access, it's same ease of you know, piece, and you know, you don't have to worry about the ads popping up on YouTube.
And again, with some of those lists, you get some of those taking the top 200 here to whatever the different ones are. You can compile those lists into about 1,000 songs, and yes, it would cost you $1,000. But that $1,000 of iTunes purchases would probably cover 90%, 95% of your shows, if not 100%. So, it's the whole music thing. You know, the thousands and thousands of dollars that we've invested in our music is kind of irrelevant, unfortunately, where we are today.
So that would be something we agree on that isn't as. The talent and the music knowledge isn't as important as having it and having a list. Is that what we're saying with this?
I really unfortunately think so. I think that a list, a good curated list, whether it's from a friend or something you purchased, is really important. And that even myself, I mean, and MJ, you've talked about this, is you've got your folders and you've got your methodologies of creating your list digitally on there, so when you are having those nights where you're looking for something, and you can just go and find it. And that's really what ultimately those music lists are, is that I'm looking for something from the 70s, and I can go looking at my 70s list or 70s folder and find it. If I didn't know anything about the 70s, I could get a list from a video, you know, Brian and I did. We did a video on 70s things, and if you took all those songs and put them in a folder, you're bound to find one that doesn't suck. Maybe. But
in the same respect, some of those lists, you know, again, my issue is taking one of those lists and just playing it beginning to end.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, there's a point where it's gonna bubble up and get you.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
But the idea is also, you know, having the list of something like, you know, the research where it's the top 200s, or it's, you know, watching John and Brian's show or something like that. You've got these. That's your research, right? I mean, think about it. Like, you know, I'm not versed in 70s music, right? I know some 70s music, and as I've done my, you know, built my career and stuff like that, I've dipped into it more, and I've looked up more, and I've, you know, I've taken some of those top 50 from, you know, DJ Event Planner, like the list that they would put out, and I'm like, all right, perfect. Now I know some stuff from that genre, right. Or from that decade. But that becomes, you know, for especially if you're not if you've never lived in it, that becomes your research. You got to start somewhere. So finding folders of music, I think, is definitely a place to begin.
And let's use this as a segue to our last little part. Research and continuing education. Where do you think that falls in for the importance of DJs getting started? Is this something they should be striving to do, or is this something that should happen down the road farther?
All of us being education graduates are probably going to say it's important, but I've seen both. I've seen how education in the DJ world makes someone fresh, relevant, and making money right and left. But I've also seen guys who do the same thing over and over and make a lot of money. So I don't know on that one if I were to pick one or the other. I personally would tell you always try to learn more in all aspects, business, mixing, music, everything. But I can literally tell you guys that multiple weddings a week, year round, buku money, no change in their life. They don't use a controller. They don't mix. They don't anything.
Yeah.
So.
And I don't think it's one of those things that's necessary, right? So exactly as MJ said, there's people out there who have had a very successful career in both avenues. And I think it also kind of depends upon the type of person you are. So for example, if you're a very out of the box type of thinker on your own, you may never have to reach out to anybody to learn much of, where do a lot of people learn? It's in the context of hearing somebody's idea and saying, okay, I'm not going to copy that word for word, but I'm going to take that idea and now I'm going to make it mine and make it better, at least for me, and do it, making those tweaks to it. So it's definitely one of those things that I believe if you want to make yourself better, if you want to improve where you're at, and in my viewpoint, I also feel like you're taking more pride in what you're doing. You're going to put that time in, that education side, to learn about doing something better. Not to learn about doing it their way, but to learn from their mistakes, which is also a benefit to those things, but also to make it tweaked up better and to improve where you're at. And I think long term, you're going to have a more fulfilling career because you can take more pride in it.
I'm agreeing with that.
I would agree too. I think that was good.
Wow, we ended on an agreement.
I know, and I don't know if I want to go any farther, so I think we're going to wrap up this show. Let's see. So when we're done here tonight, I think Howie and the crew are going to be getting things going here in a little bit in the chill room, djntv.com/chill. They do a recording for about the first 20 minutes to a half hour, and then after that, it opens up into the kind of the hallway talk. Kind of the things you would have seen last week in Las Vegas, the chat in the hallway. They do that each and every Monday night at 10 o'clock Eastern, and then Tuesday night at 10 o'clock Eastern, Brian and Jay and Howie do the same kind of a music chat show, and then they talk a little bit after that. Next Monday night, we're going to be doing something during our show. We're going to be giving away the February 2022 edition NLFX gift certificate. For those who got the Disc Jockey News, the new, and I don't even have one in here. The new print edition went out in February, and a lot of people they got it. And we had a contest, the hashtag DJN Returns hashtag contest, and people are taking a picture. They have to be reading the paper and taking a selfie of that, and then tag it with the DJN Returns, with the hashtag DJN Returns. We've got, I think, a couple of dozen who have already put that on social media, and that enters you into the drawing we're going to be doing next Monday night. We're going to be giving away this month a $100 gift certificate to NLFX, so you can use that to buy cables or put it towards a speaker, whatever you want to do, but we'll be doing that live on our show next Monday night. So if you didn't get the paper, you can go out to DJNTVtraining.com, and you'll see on there, I think the edition's there, and you can go and actually find it, or actually the best way to do it, we've got lots of links. This is the one, and I'll actually put this one into the chat here. DJNTV.com/February 2022. That'll take you right to the paper. Go there, and you'll have to sign up if you're in there, and it's a free level. Sign up for the free level. You just need to be, it's behind the sign up wall. Go there and print out the front page, and you can take a picture of you holding the thing, and as long as we can see that you've got the front page there, and take that picture, do the hashtag thing, and then that'll enter you into next Monday's contest. So DJNTV.com/February 2022.
I'm going to Photoshop one. Like all the DJs out there that do these review shows on YouTube and say, oh, look, I got the newest thing or got that, and they Photoshop themselves with it and then lie about it. So that takes me into Wednesday night, John. I'm going to do a show that I'm going to attempt something new. So normally I do the music and mixing show with ask me questions, question Q&A. Yep. So the first half of the show is not going to be Q&A. It's going to be, instead of asking me questions, you're going to ask me my opinion on things.
Oh boy.
The second half, I'll answer questions. But the first half, I want to see if this is something that works at all, but you're going to ask my opinion. So those who are watching tonight, please, I'll put a flyer out, but it's Ask My Opinion night.
So when
you only need one question of your opinion, and there's your hour show.
And there's there's going to be the disclaimers, the before disclaimer, the in the middle of the discussion disclaimer, and the end disclaimer. So you got to put all this together.
No, the disclaimer is going to be you tuned in here voluntarily. All on your head.
It's all on you, man. You tuned in.
Wednesday, 9 p.m. right here, only on Disc Jockey News TV.
That sounds good. Other than that, Dan, I think it's time to take it home.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking time out of your night to come out and join us. Or if you're watching it, later on, you spent the time. You put in the effort to learn about being better you. So thank you very much for that. Have yourself a great one. We'll see you next time.